RTV6. We're on our way to a active shooter situation that has developed at Noblesville W Middle School. We are getting reports from school and police in the area that the shooter has been detained. There are injuries. This is very early in the situation, so I'm going to be very safe on what I say on here. But this is a serious... Okay. Do you know where Hague Road is? Do you know where Hague Road is? Yeah. Okay, so go up to 32. Yes. It's the one right next to I believe this is it right here. Maybe. I need to get a lock on the school signage. I think we are, but I got to make sure and confirm we are here. I'm trying to look for signage now. We're at the high school. We're at the high school. The middle school's probably... Okay. I think we're, hang on, we're looking. We can't. Right, this is east, Noblesville East. So we need to go west. Is it attached to this building, Will? Okay, I think it might be on this side, maybe. I don't know. I'm shooting at the back at 7 a.m. I'm not sure. This part right here might be it. Not it. No, we can't. I need coordinates. We don't know. Skycam 6, I need coordinates to confirm where this is, please. Coordinates, please. Okay, we need to go farther west. Let's go farther west. You saw the... Right. We're trying to get to the middle school. That's it. I'm 99. It's it. Yes. Well, what I can tell you is that lots and lots of law enforcement personnel are here on the scene. And we just flew by the other campus too. There's lots of law enforcement over there. So if you're wondering, you know, the police are on this. They're trying to stay on top of this situation. There's a gathering right there you can see outside the school. This is just northwest of like downtown Noblesville to give you an idea of where that is at. Now it looks like we don't have this information confirmed yet. I don't up here, but look, the buses are stacking up here. There's a reunification place. So get on your social media accounts for your school if you need to find where that is, or if you guys know where that is down there. But they are going to set up a reunification place if you need to come here and be with your children. We can tell you, like you're hearing, we're hearing the same thing up here. We're watching for medical helicopters. That's what's making it a little difficult. We got to be real careful because they have called for some medical helicopters to be in the area. That's what I can tell you right now, Meredith. Can you go to the south side, Will? Okay. Well, I can tell you there's a lot of police and fire right here on the scene. I'm going to zoom in here. You can see they've got their operations vehicles out here. Now, Will was trying to explain just before we went on here. Where are you seeing that at, Will? There is a congregation, some kids outside. There's a lot of buses being sent to this area so that they can figure out, tell you where you can meet your kids and stuff. But the roads are completely shut down in this area. Don't go here. Don't come here. You cannot get in here. Right down here, I'll show you this right here. You can see lots of parents are coming here. Check your social media accounts for your school system, for your school here at Noblesville W Middle School, and see where you're supposed to go. On our way here, we passed some other schools in this area. There's lots of police there too, so they are watching those too, so that adds a little peace of mind there. I'm gonna zoom back up. We'll go over here, back up to the school. You can see this is an active situation here. The shooter has been detained, but they are not going to take any chances. And I'm going to stay a little wide here, but you can see what's going on here. They're bringing the children out of the school so that they can go to the next place where they'll shuttle them so they can be with parents and family members. Guys, back to you. I do not see hands in the air, but I do see heavily armed officers there protecting them, walking them out. You see some kids running there. I'm sure this is terrifying, a terrifying situation, Meredith. Yes, Meredith, here they're gradually bringing more buses around. You see them lined up here on the back, and I saw a few others making their way here. But it looks like this will be the place that they'll pick them up, and then they'll take them to that reunification place that they've been talking about. I don't want to say it. I would like you guys to confirm that. I don't want parents scrambling to the wrong place, but if you guys could look that up down there. I do know there is a place. I would advise, do not come near the school right now because you're not going to get close to it for one, and there's a lot. Let the law enforcement do their job and get this situation under control. If I can get that location, I can keep saying that. I just don't want to say the wrong place. I can't figure out where it is, the unification place. Okay, have we got other choppers? Well, I can tell you it looks like they're bringing them out in groups. There'll be one group come through, they'll load a bus, then they'll go back and get another bus. They are asking, or some kids are running. We don't know if the officers are wanting them to get out of the building as quick as possible so they can be taken to where they're going to meet up with family, friends, where they're going to reunite everybody. But it is a chaotic situation. Lots of armed officers are here on the scene. Like you've reported, we've seen up here, they have detained a suspected shooter. There are a lot of police here on the scene trying to lock down this situation and make it safe again, Meredith. Haley, I can talk again about something I just observed.
Word from parents, what they're hearing from their children. This is a middle school, so some of these children very well might have had cell phones in the classroom with them and could have given their parents a report of what they were seeing. We want to get back to Call 6 Investigates Kara Kenny, Kara, you have been speaking with a mother whose child was inside the school as this happened. What did she have to say to you?
Well, when Tracy picked up the phone, as you can imagine, she was crying. She was in a total panic. She was trying to find out what was going on. At the point that I talked to her, just before I came out on the set, her daughter was still in the school. But as you can see, since then, the children are being brought outside of the school. For any mom, you can imagine getting those text messages saying that there is a shooter inside the school. She was in all-out panic trying to get to her child. I've been texting her. We've been trying to call her to try to get an update. And haven't been able to reach her to get an update. But as far as she knew, she said that the kids were fine, that her child was okay. She told me that it was a teacher that was badly injured and that it was all that she was aware of. So as you can imagine, some very panicked moments for any parent that's communicating with their child inside that school. And just so you know, Noblesville West High School or Middle School has 1,300 kids, so quite a few kids that you see are coming out of the school right now, Meredith.
Kara, thank you so much. And once again, those students streaming out of the school, some of them running to these buses that the school district had waiting outside for them. We want to get live back up to Skycam 6 with Shay Goodpaster. Shay, tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing. We have just seen groups and groups of students coming out of this school.
That's right, Meredith. Hundreds of kids, they're getting them out of the building. I know there's a lot of parents really worried. I just can't imagine. I've got kids, but I can tell you, if it makes you feel any better, there's not a bunch of ambulances here. There's a bunch of police officers. So that's something I mean, there's an injury, but there's not a lot of ambulances here. That has to be a good sign. But if you need to get those kids, go to Noblesville High School. Don't even go here. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to pan out here and zoom up. You can see the traffic jam. You're not going to get near it. So that's my advice from the air, what I can tell you right now. But they're getting the kids out of the school. They're not a lot of them are running now. There were a lot of them running earlier. So I think that's a good sign too. The other thing I've noticed that you asked about earlier, it looks like they left everything in the school. It's just the kids going out, and lots of buses are still trying. That's another reason why you should not come to this school. They're trying to get more buses here so they can get these kids out of here and get them over to the high school, Meredith.
And Shay, we do want to reiterate, the school will contact parents when those students are ready to be picked up. They do not want parents rushing over to the high school. The high school, along with all the other schools in the Noblesville School District, are on lockdown at this very moment. We can see this large group of students walking away from these buses right now. I can't tell if there is another bus that they are walking towards, but these buses, yes, they are heading to another bus. Once again, these buses will take those students to Noblesville High School. We are seeing just in from Sergeant John Prine with Indiana State Police, 2 victims are en route to Methodist from Noblesville West, this active shooter situation. Their families have been notified, and that suspect is in custody. Once again, we did hear that a teacher possibly is one of those victims. We are waiting to learn the identities of those victims, whether teachers or students are involved, but we have learned there are now 2 victims that we know of en route to Methodist from Noblesville West Middle School. All students are being taken to Noblesville High School. The school will notify you when you're supposed to pick your students up. Obviously, this is thousands of students that are being transported over there. That school is on lockdown. So if you do show up, you might have a difficult time being let in. Obviously, a very sensitive moment right now. They're not going to let just anyone into those schools at this moment. You can see a heavy police force also outside of the school. It looks about maybe a little more than a dozen, close to 2 dozen officers out there in uniform, and a number of police cars as well. We want to get to this tweet here, also put out by Noblesville Fire, that confirmed they are on the scene of an active shooter. We do know that there are 2 victims. They are en route to Methodist. Their families have been notified. Our Call 6 Investigates Kara Kenny also spoke with one mother who has children that attend Noblesville West Middle School. This mother said a teacher had been shot. We are working to confirm that ourselves, but that woman didn't know the extent of the injuries, and that person is en route to Methodist at this moment. We also want to get another live look back from Skycam 6, just at all those buses lined up. Okay, my producer just came in my ear. IU Health is confirming they have 1 adult and 1 teenage patient. Once again, 2 victims from this active shooter situation at Noblesville West Middle School. 1 adult, 1 teenage patient right now. Their families have been notified. They are taking all the other students from Noblesville West Middle School to Noblesville High School, and we are getting our first look from the ground here. You can see a number of police and cars outside of the school. The school is asking parents, do not show up to Noblesville West Middle School. This is obviously a very chaotic and developing situation. The more people that show up there, the more chaotic it will be, the more confusing it will be. We understand you want to be reunited with your child. We so very understand that. But on behalf of police, we are asking that you do not go to Noblesville West Middle School. From our view from Skycam 6, Shay Goodpastor has said traffic is already backed up in that area, even despite the roads being closed. All those students from Noblesville West will be taken to Noblesville High School. That school is currently on lockdown, however, so the school district will be contacting parents. Okay, just into our newsroom. Noblesville West students have been evacuated to the gym at Noblesville High School. We can tell you, families can meet students there. We now have permission to let you know you can meet your students there. Please be careful as you head over there. Obviously, that will be a chaotic situation, and people need to just be patient. That's going to be a lot of people heading to one place at one time. There is already a lot of traffic in the area near Noblesville West Middle School. You just need to be patient. These buses will also be heading there. So obviously we've seen group after group of students coming out of the school. So it's going to take some time to get all these kids over to Noblesville High School, the gymnasium there. ask for parents to please be patient. Do not panic. They are working as quickly as possible to get these students safely to Noblesville High School. All schools in Noblesville are currently on a lockdown right now. We do also want to let you know that. So if you do show up to a school trying to pick up your student, it may be quite difficult. We want to go back up to Shay Goodpaster in Skycam 6. Shay, any new developments that you're seeing from the air?
No, I did notice as far as the traffic situation, like we can confirm it now. I was probably a little early on saying that earlier, but if you're going to go to the high school, go there. Do not come here. I've seen a lot of parents. It appears to be parents. I'm assuming it's parents pulling off on the side of the road. They're trying to get all these buses in here to get them over to the gymnasium at the high school. So I wouldn't even go near here. And of course, keep an eye on your social media account for updated details. Now, there haven't been as many kids come out here recently, but I have noticed several, what it appears to be, we're assuming, I'm up in the air, teachers and stuff going bus to bus, checking on people, making sure that everybody is doing what they need to be on these buses. Now, here I'm going to zoom out and give you a very, very wide scope of what's going on here. So you've got the back of the front of the school, the back of the school here. The whole place is surrounded by law enforcement. I've seen ATF, State Police, Sheriff's Department here, Noblesville Police. They're all here. They're on the scene. So if you're going to be in the area, just avoid this area. It's the little northwest of downtown Noblesville. Stay out of the area and pay attention to your social media accounts, Meredith.
Shay, thank you very much. We do want to repeat again, IU Health has confirmed 1 adult and 1 teenager have been brought to their hospitals after this shooting this morning. This is a live look right now outside of Methodist Hospital where those 2 patients have been brought. Now, we do not know the extent of their injuries, but we do know at least 1 adult, 1 student have been injured. And our Call 6 Investigates Paris Lubell is here with me now. Paris, what have you learned? You have a lot of law enforcement contacts who might be giving you some good insight.
Right now, we're just rolling up here on the scene, trying to get as much information as we can on this. But right now, we've heard that a number of victims have again gone to Methodist Hospital. We're not sure of the extent of their injuries just yet. Again, trying to get the latest from police here on the scene. Obviously, there's a lot of law enforcement there at the middle school trying to just figure out what happened here and then all the details specifically. We do know at this point State Police has sent a number of troopers out to the high school. They've also sent their SWAT team out just to assist. Now, we don't know if they're being utilized. The superintendent at one point got on the radio up in Hamilton County and said, we are just sending these people. So a lot of law enforcement just coming up to assist as much as they can.
Paris, thank you very much. From our Skycam 6, we can see a helicopter has landed on scene. There is someone just getting out of that helicopter. Unsure who that is and what they're doing there on scene, but media will be briefed at 11 a.m. This is a live look from outside IU Methodist Hospital. You can see an ambulance there coming up. This is one of the patients, we believe, from this shooting at Noblesville West Middle School. 1 adult, 1 teenager, we know are the victims as of right now. That is what we have learned so far. We are working to learn if there are any other victims in this situation. We do know the shooter is in custody right now. We also want to remind parents, students are being taken to Noblesville West Middle School, from Noblesville West Middle School, to Noblesville High School. You can see all those buses lined up there. They are asking parents not come to Noblesville West Middle School. It is obviously a very chaotic situation. That is a crime scene right now. So they ask that no parents come to Noblesville West Middle School. Our Shay Goodpaster in Skycam 6 has been telling us since we came on the air that there is a lot of traffic in this area. The roads around the school are currently blocked off, so please go to Noblesville High School. In the gymnasium is where you can be reunited with your student. And our Kara Kenny has been speaking with one mom that she knows who has students at Noblesville West Middle School. Kara, what are these parents telling you right now? I cannot imagine what they are going through.
Yeah, when Tracy picked up the phone about 20 minutes ago, she was crying. She was very, very upset. She says that her daughter is fine, had been in communication with her daughter, and at that point she was still inside the school. As as you can see, since then they had been taken out of the school, but the mom was trying to get to her daughter to make sure that she was okay. As you can imagine, the panic and the fear in her voice was really hard to hear. It's nothing that any parent wants to hear, that their son or daughter is inside a school where an active shooter has been. So I hung up with her as she was getting ready to head to the school to make sure that her daughter was safe. She told me that one of the people that was injured was a teacher and that teacher was not in good shape. But again, we have not independently confirmed that, but that is information that she told me. There are, at Noblesville W Middle School, there are 1,346 students, grades 6 through 8, and we also looked up incidents of bullying. 2016-2017 school data is the most recent that's available. There were 2 incidents of verbal bullying that we're aware of, but schools will not be reporting the new information until this summer, and that's the very latest from the live desk. Meredith.
Kara, thank you very much. And I just got a message from Carmel Clay Schools. Actually, they are reporting they are going to increase their police presence in all schools despite the shooter being in custody. Their thoughts and prayers are with their friends in Noblesville at this time, but they are aware of what is going on and they have increased police presence at all of their schools for the rest of the day. We want to get to Paris Lubell right now, who is also keeping a close eye on this situation. Paris, what have you learned?
Right now, we're just, again, getting the latest information from police here on the scene. They are keeping us pretty far back here from the school. We do know right now, again, they're evacuating all those students from the middle school to the high school. They're asking parents right now not to come here to the high school. At this point, there is just too many law enforcement vehicles here, and the traffic is pretty much shut down in the entire area. But they are escorting on Noblesville school buses right now here along 100. The school buses here going towards the high school right outside the golf course that's across from the school. What we do know also, in instances like this, a lot of the times the cell phones don't work. So if your parents are out there trying to call their students, trying to call their children, know that sometimes the cell towers get overloaded, and in the chaos, people may drop cell phones. So don't just use cell phones that you can't get through. Just hold off, maybe revert back to texting at this point. But as soon as we get information here from the scene, we're going to talk to state police, who looks like they're going to be handling all the media out here. I'll give you guys an update just as soon as I can.
Paris, thank you very much. And we do know the media will be briefed in about 45 minutes. We are hoping to learn more details once that happens. We do know 2 people are victims in this shooting at Noblesville W Middle School, 1 adult, 1 teenager. We do not know who they are. We know they are taken to IU Health at Methodist Hospital, and IU Health confirming they are treating those patients at this time. That shooter is in custody. And I want to get back up to our Shea Goodpasture in Skycam 6. Shea, it looks like things are at a bit of a standstill right now. It doesn't seem we've seen any more students coming out of the school in the past few minutes.
That's right, Meredith. In the last few minutes, we have not seen any more evacuations here. The situation is still the same with the traffic. You need to avoid this area completely. Now, I can add a little bit of a personal note to this. I just got word a friend of mine has a relative that's a teacher here, and they know kids in here. They have kids in here. There are kids that are, very shaken up, but they're evaluating them and deciding where they should send them. Do they need to go to the school, the high school, or should they go somewhere else? So be aware of that this is a hard time for the kids, and they may be in there evaluating these students to see where they should go, Meredith.
Shea, thank you very much. And I just got word from a friend whose mother is actually a bus driver for Noblesville schools. And a lot of the kids there actually, some kids ran out of the school to the Fox Prairie neighborhood. Some also ran to the bus garage. So you can just imagine what a chaotic and scary situation it was for those students. Obviously, the school making sure they have to have all of those students accounted for, because we have learned that some of those students did run out of the school when this active shooter situation started taking place. We do know 2 people have been injured in this shooting. We don't know the extent of their injuries at this time, but they were taken to Methodist Hospital, and we know that that shooter is in custody. We want to go to our Kara Kenny now. Kara, I just mentioned not long ago about Carmel Clay schools putting out a message saying they will have an increased presence of police at all their schools for the duration of the day. What are you hearing from other schools in the area?
Yeah, we're seeing some tweets that are going out now. The superintendent of the Metropolitan District of Wayne Township has sent out a tweet saying the Wayne Township School District have all Noblesville schools, staff, parents, and the community in our thoughts. We have reached out to offer any support that we can provide. Hashtag Noblesville West, hashtag We Are Wayne. So you're starting to see other school districts that are reaching out, offering their support. I've also been in touch with the Indiana Department of Education. They are monitoring the situation right now, and we're hoping to get a statement of some sort from them as well soon.
Kara, thank you very much. Once again, a number of local schools reaching out, offering their support. Carmel Clay schools mentioning they are going to have an increased police presence for the duration of their day. They are aware of the situation going on at Noblesville West Middle School. We've been telling you all morning, those buses you see there, they are taking students to Noblesville High School. That is where parents can reunite with their students inside the gymnasium. That is where the school is asking you reunite with your students. But as you can imagine, it will be a chaotic situation. We're asking for your patience. We're asking for people to be patient as they make their way over to the hospital. Shea Goodpastor reporting a lot of traffic around Noblesville West Middle School. As people learned of this, they obviously rushed to the school right away. The roads around the school currently blocked as officers investigate. Now we want to take a live look at Methodist Hospital, and I'm not sure if someone can let me know what other hospital that is. That would be greatly appreciated. Riley, I believe that is. One adult, one teenage patient were taken to these hospitals. They are being treated. We aren't sure of the extent of their injuries. We aren't sure right now what exactly is going on inside those hospitals. We are waiting to learn more from investigators. They are going to brief the media at 11 o'clock. So in about 40 minutes, we are hoping to learn a lot more. We are getting detail after detail into our newsroom slowly throughout this morning, and we are hoping to bring you whatever we learn right away. Once again, 2 victims from this shooting at Noblesville West Middle School. That shooter is in custody. We have not learned any information about that person. We do not know who they are, what their association with the school is. You can see a large police presence, though, outside the school at this time. A number of officers out there canvassing that parking lot, looking around, and we can imagine this is what the school will probably look like for the rest of the day as they investigate what exactly happened here. I want to go back up to our Shea Goodpastor in Skycam 6. Shea, what does it look like these officers are doing? I mean, merely investigating out there?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, I've kind of avoided the officers here for a while because it looked like they were getting ready to do something, but now it seems to be a little calmer. We had a lot of officers in what I would call SWAT tactical gear earlier that were gathered around there. Now, it's like I said earlier, ATF's here. All the local police departments are here, and the fire department. Noblesville Fire Department is here on the scene. So they're trying to figure out and get this situation under control, which it does look like it's much more under control than it was earlier. When we pulled up, you saw a lot of kids running. It was still a little chaotic. But right now, I'm trying to figure out, I think they may have some extra buses here. I know there's still some kids on these buses, but like I said, I got word earlier that they're still evaluating some children in there, making sure they're all right, making sure they should even put them on a bus, or maybe they should take them to a local hospital, Meredith.
Shea, thank you very much. And we just are hearing now from Congresswoman Susan Brooks tweeting out, "My team and I are aware of the horrific shooting at Noblesville West Middle School. My prayers are with the Noblesville community, especially those who are injured and those who witnessed an active shooter situation, something no one should ever have to go through, especially children." Once again, 2 victims, 1 adult, 1 teenager have been hospitalized. Their families have been notified. All other students have been put on buses and will be taken to Noblesville High School. Parents, you can reunite with your students in the gym there. And Our Rafael Sanchez is there at the scene. As you can imagine, it is a very chaotic situation out there this morning. We are working to get him live, so we will hear from him, who he is on the ground in just a moment. And we want to get another look outside the hospitals. We understand that teenage patient was taken to Riley Hospital for Children. As you can see here, this is where that teenage patient from Noblesville W Middle School was taken. We do not know the extent of their injuries at this time. However, we do know their family has been notified. The adult patient who was injured in this shooting was taken to IU Methodist. Their family also has been notified. Those are the only victims we know of at this time, the only two people we know of who are injured. Now, Shay spoke about some other students possibly being traumatized and police speaking with them. So no word if students were injured as they were running out of the school or if merely they are just so frightened by this incredible incident that is hard to believe that we are reporting on another school shooting. I want to get back to that tweet from Susan Brooks I had mentioned before. Here is a look at that. She said, "My team and I are aware of the horrific shooting at Noblesville W Middle School. My prayers are with the Noblesville community, especially those who are injured and those who witnessed an active shooter situation." We want to go out now live to the ground. I just mentioned our Rafael Sanchez is out there. Rafael, what are you seeing? Obviously a very chaotic scene. All right, we are obviously having some technical difficulties right now with that, but this is a live look from the scene. Obviously, our crew can't get that close to Noblesville W Middle School. Rafael, tell me a little bit about what you're learning out there.
We are at the Fox Prairie Golf Course, which is just a couple of feet away from the middle school. This is the command center. And I was mentioning to you, this is a day that none of us wanted to see after seeing shootings in Santa Fe, Texas, and Parkland, Florida. I can tell you that right now, this is where we're going to expect a news conference at 11 o'clock to get the very latest details. State Police, Noblesville Police, Hamilton County Sheriff's Office are here on the scene. Again, we're just a few feet away from the Middle School West. We've seen a number of buses, as we've seen on RTV6's live coverage, heading towards the high school. What I want to get across to you right now is the following. They tell me that the suspect is in custody, that we have two victims, that you will know whether the victims are members of your family if you've been notified. They have notified the families of the victims already. So if you've not been contacted already, you are, I hate to say okay, because a trauma like this, no one is okay. But what you need to know is if you have not been notified, then the two people injured are not members of your family, in other words. So they have notified family at this point. Again, we are also being told at this moment that for all the other students that have been transported to Noblesville High School, which is just a couple of miles from here, that you are to report to the Noblesville High School gym. So if you are a parent of a Noblesville Middle School West student that has been transported to the high school, as we've seen today, then you need to go to the gym to pick up your child. As you can see here at this location, which they're keeping us at a distance from the middle school, the crime scene, it is very active. I want to show you something else, as really when you have these kinds of mass casualty incidents, they have to set up a system. This is the board that they're using here at the command center, just to give you an idea of who is doing what, to make sure that all the information is received in time. You can see from this whiteboard that they've established here that, of course, the area now of concern is Noblesville High School, where the students are. Methodist High School, where they've taken Methodist Hospital, where they've taken the victims, and of course, families are being told to go to the high school. We're getting ready for a press conference here at 11 o'clock. The suspect is in custody. Well, we don't know at this point ages. We don't know names. We don't know the why. And the why will be a big thing to discuss. And when this news conference begins at 11 o'clock, you can count on us to ask all of those questions. This is truly just a heartbreaking moment for all of us in Central Indiana. Again, we've seen these images unfold across the country. And now, as you can see, police, on my way up this morning from Johnson County coming into work, you could see the level of police presence here in the area, just police from everywhere, state police, local police, just heading to the scene. Again, this is now unfolding here in Noblesville, a school system that has more than 1,300 students in the school system. Police getting ready for this news conference where 2 people, no ages, no names just given, were injured inside of Noblesville West High School, and the state police preparing to give us more information here in the next few moments. That's all I have for now. If you would give me a chance to talk and to the officers here on the
Raphael,
scene, as well as talk to my sources.
We appreciate you bringing us that report from live there on the ground. He will get a report from police at 11 o'clock in about a half an hour on more information. We want to get to our Call 6 Investigates. We will get to Paris Lubell in just a moment. Here is another live look over this scene. This is Noblesville West Middle School, where an active shooter situation took place earlier this morning. We know 1 adult, 1 teenager hospitalized after this shooting. Now, we do not know who these 2 people are, what their relationship is with the shooter, and we do know that shooter is in custody. That is the good news at this time. However, we don't know who that shooter is either. That adult was taken to IU Methodist. They just arrived minutes ago. About 4 minutes ago, that adult victim arrived at IU Methodist Hospital. We don't know the extent of their injuries. The teen patient is at Riley right now. They arrived a little bit ago as well. We don't know the extent of their injuries either. However, both of the victims' families have been notified. That is the good news. Children who were at the school during the time of this shooting have been put on all those buses that you see there. They will be taken to Noblesville High School. You are asked to meet your child at Noblesville High School. Obviously, please be patient. Please be careful as you may make your way over there. A lot of people going to be heading in the same direction. We want to get to our Kara Kenny right now. Kara, do you have an update for us?
Yes, I just talked to one of the moms again. As you can imagine, she's crying and very upset. She says she just saw someone transported. Not sure if this is the suspect or not. We're trying to get her on the phone. But I wanted to talk about Susan Brooks' tweet. She tweeted, "My team and I are aware of the horrific shooting at Noblesville West Middle School. My prayers are with the Noblesville community, especially those who are injured and those who witness an active shooter situation, something no one should ever have to go through, especially children." Well, some parents are now taking to Twitter to express their frustration. You have one parent that says, "My kids go to Noblesville. How about you do something about this? Thoughts and prayers are not enough." And you have another person tweeting, "So let's pass legislation to try to stop this. Do something," in all caps. So as you can imagine, people are very frustrated, and they're now taking to Twitter to try to hold their congresswoman accountable. And I would imagine we're going to see other lawmakers that are going to be sending their thoughts and prayers as well, and people are demanding action at this hour. Back to you.
Kara, thank you. We want to get to Call 6 Investigates Paris Lubell now. Paris, what have you learned? Paris, can you hear me all right?
Hey, this is Paris.
Hi, Paris. It's Meredith in the studio. We want to know what you've learned since we spoke with you last.
So we're just getting an update here from state police. Right now, they've had a number of units leave the middle school here to go over to the high school and assist over there. We're just trying to figure out exactly what's some specifics about at what's going on at the high school as well. But right now, there's no threat at the high school. As some people have said on social media, there is state police is telling us there is nothing there. But we have seen some of that pop up in social media and at some of the other schools. But right now, the focus here is, again, just at the middle school, where they have a number of law enforcement officers and a number of crews just searching the building, and also now starting the process of processing this as a crime scene.
Paris, thank you very much. And once again, a great reminder, those students from Noblesville West will be taken to Noblesville High School. Police also on their way over there. We do not want parents to be alarmed if they see a large police presence at Noblesville High School. Obviously, police going to be questioning a lot of these students. A lot of these students likely witnessed what happened here at Noblesville West Middle School this morning. So police needing to talk to them to gather as much information as possible about what exactly exactly happened. Now, we want to take some video from earlier this morning. This is a look at those students leaving the school. You can see them lined up, making their way to the buses that were waiting for them. You can see a large number of students making their way out of the school. Obviously, it is going to take some time to transport all of these students over to the high school, which is a few miles away from this middle school. They are going to be reunited with parents in the gymnasium. We ask that you please be patient with this reunification process. Obviously, there's going to be a large police presence there, a number of other parents trying to get to their children. So it is just a situation everyone needs to be patient for and just be calm in, because obviously this is a very traumatizing situation for many of these children. And we just ask that everyone be patient as they make their way to the high school and once they arrive. We also we're just getting a live look that we have. Here's a live look now at the high school. It seems most of those students have been loaded onto the buses. I'm unsure if any of those buses have left the middle school. However, they will be taken to the high school, as we have told you all morning long. Now, once again, we have learned one adult, one teenager are the victims in this shooting. They have been hospitalized. The adult victim has been taken to Methodist Hospital. The teenager has been taken to Riley. Their families have been notified. We do not know what their relationships were with the shooter. We do not know who the shooter is. That shooter is in custody this morning. We're not sure if they have been taken from the scene yet or if that shooter is still on scene with authorities. We are working to learn all these details, and our Rafael Sanchez, who is there on the ground in Noblesville, will likely learn more once we are briefed by police at 11 a.m. Now, to give you some perspective as to where Noblesville West Middle School is, this is a look on our map. Let's get that map up there. As you can see, it is north of Metro Indianapolis on the north side there, Noblesville West Middle School. This is a few miles away from Noblesville High School. Roads in that area are currently blocked at this time. Our Shea Goodpastor reported a lot of cars, a lot of people rushing to the schools. And speaking of parents, we have a mother of a Noblesville West Middle School student on the line with us. I am so sorry these are the circumstances we are speaking under. Can you tell me a little bit, how did you learn of this shooting this morning?
My daughter texted me, and she asked me not to text her back, and I knew something was wrong when she said, "Don't text me back." And then my other daughter said, here, I'm going to go back and read it. So let's see. We are under a code yellow. I love you guys. I don't know what it means, but the principal's voice was shaking when he came on the intercom, so it's kind of freaking me out. And then my other daughter told me that there was a shooting, and she said, I hear shots. There has been 10, and she can't confirm if that's really what she was hearing or if that's what she was feeling. And so me not being there with her, it really scared me, and the feeling I got, I can't explain. Like all other parents, I'm sure.
Oh, I can hear the heartbreak and just fear in your voice right now. I cannot imagine. Could you believe what you were reading when those texts popped up on your cell phone? And how old are your two daughters?
14 and 16. One is 14 and she goes to West, and the other one's in the high school. And of course she's there and can't, help my youngest either. And we're all just so scared.
Oh, I cannot imagine. Now, I'm assuming you were talking to other parents in the Noblesville area. What are other parents saying? What have you learned so far this morning since you received those text messages?
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
I'm taking a deep breath.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm being stopped right now.
You're picking up. Just follow down. Just see those two officers standing there. They'll tell you where to go, okay?
Thank you.
Come on.
Now, was that a police officer who was just directing you? Okay. Are you on your way to Noblesville High School at this moment?
I'm at the school. It's just so many cars. Like, there's nowhere to park, even blocks and blocks down the way. I mean, you just don't know where to go.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I feel like I couldn't get to her fast enough, and I tried to get to her school, and of course, I can't get through.
Right. Now, once you received those text messages, were you at work? Were you?
Oh. Can help you park and direct you to door 5.
Did you leave your home right away or work right away when you got those text messages, or what was your first course of action?
Yes, I was trying to get to the West School.
What you do is park your next to that black car, okay?
Thank you. And I wasn't able to get through. I was able to get down the road, and I wasn't able to see anything. And then I just was trying to figure out where I need to go. I just felt so lost. I didn't know what to do.
Oh.
I just wanted to be in there. I wanted to get her out. I didn't know what was going on. I just, at that time, sometimes you wish you were an officer yourself.
Absolutely. Now, you said that you are on your way now to pick up your daughters. How many parents are out there? Is it just complete chaos right now?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, and I had asked you before, but I think we were interrupted by that police officer that was trying to help you park. Have you spoken to any other parents? What are they hearing from their children?
They're all in the same boat, scavenging around, trying to find a spot, just trying to figure out what's going on. My daughter, I don't want to say exactly what all she knows because I don't know what I know family's been notified for the other people, but I don't know exactly what family. And if there's more people they need to tell, and I don't want to put that in other people's.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that, Tracy. What happens? I mean, obviously, what happens next? Your daughters are now, unfortunately, part of this group of children who have experienced a school shooting. What is the conversation going to be like when you guys get home?
I don't know. I just I can't imagine, because you see this stuff on TV and your heart breaks for everybody else, and that's everybody else, and you're sitting at home watching it, but now you're in it, and you don't know what to do. I know that she heard those shots, and she was afraid, and she kept telling me that she loved me, and she was afraid that something was going to happen, not just to her, but people that she loves and cares about and knows. Because you never know the outcome.
Oh, Tracy, I just cannot imagine as a mother what you are going through right now. I know that you probably cannot wait until the moment till you hold those girls in your arms.
Oh, I can't.
And
Absolutely.
I am so sorry. These are the circumstances that we are speaking under, and I'm so sorry this has happened to your family and this has happened to your community. We appreciate you so very much speaking with us this morning, and once again, I know that you cannot wait to get your daughters in your arms, so I will let you go so you can focus on reuniting with your girls, and thank you so very much for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, that was just Tracy DeMarcus, a mother of a student at Noblesville W Middle School. She told us her daughter text messaged her saying there was a code yellow. She didn't know what was happening and she loved her family. The text message no parent ever wants to receive, but the reality that we live in today. Now we have Paris Lubell on the ground there in Noblesville. Paris, you have learned some new information in the last few minutes. Can you tell us what that is?
Meredith, that's right. We've learned that there have been some threats that have popped up at some of the other schools. Right now, police telling us none of those are confirmed at this point. Again, there have been some threats that have popped up at some of the other middle schools and at the high school. But again, police telling us right now none of those are confirmed. Those areas are safe. Right now, it's the only at the high school at this point. So we are waiting for the latest information. Behind me, they're starting to set up a little bit of a command post here. State police and the other police departments that are part of this will be giving us an update right around 11 o'clock. There's a lot of law enforcement here. We know IMPD is assisting. We know state police is also assisting. Most of the troopers that work in this district, District 52, have now moved up to Hamilton County and are assisting with this. We also know ISP's SWAT team is out here just assisting along with all the other Hamilton County law enforcement agencies. Chief Investigator Rafael Sanchez is here as well. Rafael, you've been talking to a number of people to get some information. What's the latest?
So we're trying to really figure out why did this happen, and of course that is the biggest question. Beyond, of course, at this moment, everyone is thinking about those two people that currently are at the hospital, at Methodist Hospital. We're also thinking about the staff and the students who've endured some trauma this morning here in Hamilton County in Noblesville. So that's our priority first, to think about those folks that currently are just dealing with things that we could never even imagine. Those in the hospital and the students, the parents who are now rushing to, as we just heard from Meredith's interview with that parent, rushing to figure out exactly what's going on. As we reported, the families that are the victims' families have been notified. Families are now picking up their kids at the high school. But our sense right now is to try to get more information as possible, and we'll get that here shortly. In the next 15, 20 minutes or so, as Paris just mentioned, they are setting up for this news conference where we're going to be asking a lot of questions. We want to know specifically who the victims are and why did this happen, and then we also want to know the suspect. What exactly led to the situation? What was happening that caused this to happen this morning here in Noblesville? As we heard from that parent in her voice, just the anguish, the raw emotion that we've seen, Paris, these incidents really emerge, whether it's Santa Fe, Texas, whether it's Parkland, Florida. You know, I'm old enough to remember Columbine. It just hits you right in the gut. So we're going to keep asking a lot of questions. The Call 6 Investigates team is on the scene, so give us a few more minutes. We'll continue to call our sources and talk to people here on the ground, and we'll give you the very latest. Now back to you in Studio A.
Rafael Paris, thank you very much. We want to get to our Katie Hines, who is outside of Noblesville High School at this moment. This is where parents are arriving to pick up their students who have been transported from Noblesville W Middle School. Katie, what is the scene out there like right now?
It's pretty active out here. We've seen hundreds of parents line up and line the street outside of Noblesville High School to go in and reunite with their children. We're told that this is the reunification point for Noblesville Middle School West students. They are making sure that everyone is accounted for at this hour, and then parents are allowed to come and pick up their students. Now, we just got an update from state police here a short time ago, that confirmation that 2 people were injured. We don't know yet whether both of those people were students, but you can see parents at this hour still going into the middle school. We've seen a great deal of police activity too, officers continuing to arrive, officers directing traffic at this hour from a number of agencies. And you can see in the background there the students. It appears to be many students lined up outside to reunify with their parents, to find their parents after this incident. I'll give you a look down the road here just at the number of people that are out here, the number of concerned parents. We are just about to talk to one of those concerned parents who got a text message from her daughter, we're told. That's how she found out what was going on. So again, a very active scene at this time as police continue to arrive. Noblesville Middle School, the gym and outside area there is where parents are finding their students, making sure that they are okay. We are told too, if you are a parent of a student at the middle school, you don't have reason to be concerned. Anyone that was impacted by this incident today has been notified. That according to Indiana State Police. So that hopefully some measure of comfort for some parents who might still be wondering exactly what happened and what is going on. But we are going to stay out here. We are going to be talking to parents and finding out more information on what happened. Still a lot of questions in terms of how many shots were fired, the nature of injuries, and what might have happened here this morning. Back to you.
Katie, thank you very much. Amanda Starantino joins me at the desk right now. Obviously, this is a all hands on deck situation. We have team coverage and we'll continue team coverage all morning long.
Thank you, Meredith. And we do have Shay Goodpaster in Skycam 6. He's been giving us an overview of what's been going on, taking a look at those police activity that's been going on. And we are told that parents, we know you want to get to that middle school. We know you want to get to your kids, but you are being asked to go to the high school, and that is where you can get your kids. But Shay, what are you seeing now?
Well, I'm going to start out with this wide shot here. This is 196th and Hague Road. We're just north of that. You see the traffic situation has cleared up a lot. So people are listening to the media, watching their social media and getting the word. Now, we're not going to say, we're not sure how many kids are still on the buses, but it looks like I would say there's still a significant amount of kids that are still here. I've been told by friends of people that are in this situation that they're still evaluating some kids, so they're going to decide, when to take them, where to take them, whatnot. I will tell you the state police have landed their helicopter out here just a short time ago. And we do know that there were, I can say this now, there were 2 medical helicopters here a short while away here, and one of them was used, we believe. But that's the situation from up here. Lots of officers are still here on the scene from Noblesville, Fishers, Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, ATF, a lot of those guys, the fire department's here. So it's still an active scene, because I'm still noticing every now and then you'll see some tactical people go inside the school, like I'm sure they're still searching it, making sure this isn't all clear here at Noblesville West Middle School, Amanda.
Okay, thank you, Shay. And now for parents listening in, we do know that there was 1 adult taken to Methodist and 1 teen taken to Riley. We have our reporters on scene now, and Paris LaBelle is going to join us. Paris.
For sources, we now know the FBI is also on the scene, as well as the Indiana Department of Homeland Security is assisting on the incident here. But we do know the FBI is here. They haven't taken over this investigation yet, but they have a lot of specific resources that they are either are already here on scene or en route to the middle school to help with this investigation. But now this investigation has taken a federal turn to with assistance. So a lot of different agencies assisting at this point, including the FBI, as well as the Indiana Department of Homeland Security.
Okay, thank you, Paris. And anything new that you're noticing now since we talked to you last time?
Right now, we're still waiting for that update from police here on the scene to get an idea of exactly what happened. Police at this point are also putting the pieces together. They have a lot of investigation to do. They have a lot of people to talk to, and they are going to be combing through the middle school at this point, looking for pieces of evidence or looking for different information from video or what people may have heard or seen during the incident. So they are going to be treating that as a crime scene at this point for a number of hours and possibly days as they really comb through exactly what happened.
Paris, thank you very much. We want to get to Kara Kenny now, who has been following this situation along with us all morning long. Kara, you have a statement from the state superintendent.
That's right. The state superintendent of public instruction is Dr. Jennifer McCormick, and we should also point out that McCormick has made it very vocal that she does not support arming teachers with guns in the classroom. She just released this statement saying today an unfortunate shooting at a school has occurred in Indiana. State Superintendent Dr. Jennifer McCormick is in contact with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security and is actively monitoring the situation. We have confidence in Noblesville School Superintendent Dr. Beth Niedermeyer and her team, law enforcement and first responders. The department stands ready to provide guidance and support, and we will provide further statements as information unfolds. And we're also getting a news statement right now from Governor Holcomb's office. He says Speaker Bosma Pro Tem Long and I are monitoring the situation at Noblesville West Middle School from the air on our return trip to Indianapolis from Europe. Approximately 100 state police officers have been made available to work with local responders and will offer all assistance needed. Our thoughts are with all those affected by this horrible situation. And that is Justin to the newsroom from Governor Holcomb's office. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Kara, with that. And we also are hearing from IMPD at this time. A lot of agencies stepping up to say something to show their support. IMPD tweeting out this: the IMPD family is thinking of our neighbors to the north in Noblesville. Thoughts and prayers to all involved in the active shooter incident at the middle school. Hashtag Noblesville West. And unfortunately, Meredith, we've been seeing this play out across the country far too many times, where people just know what to do now, unfortunately, how this protocol goes. But for these families to imagine what they're feeling right now.
Well, and I spoke to that mother just moments ago. Tracy was so kind to speak with us despite the chaotic situation unfolding in her own neighborhood. Her daughter, a student at Noblesville West Middle School, texting her saying there's a code yellow, an alert yellow, and that she loved them and wasn't sure what was going on. Nothing can prepare you, despite even all these shootings we've had at schools. She couldn't believe she was receiving this text message from her daughter. She was on her way to the high school to pick up her daughter who attends the middle school and her high school daughter, saying that she couldn't wait to hug them, couldn't wait to talk to them, and just know that they are okay. And you know, she just said she can't believe it is happening to us. It is happening in our own neighborhood, our own backyard. So here we are, 2 people shot at Noblesville West Middle School.
And now we're looking live at Riley Hospital for Children in downtown Indianapolis, where we know that 1 teen was taken to be treated. We do not know the extent of the injuries here. We are still waiting for those details. We just saw 2 people talking to police at that hospital. We do not know the age of the teenager or any details or how that teenager may have known the shooter. We're still waiting on those details that will play out in the next couple of hours, in the next couple of days, even in weeks at this time.
Yeah, we are about 10 minutes away from a police briefing that is scheduled for the media at 11 o'clock. And before we get to that briefing, we want to bring in Rick Snyder from the Fraternal Order of Police. Rick, thank you so much for joining us at such a short notice this morning. We are so sorry this is the circumstances we are seeing you today for.
Well, unfortunately, these are the tragedies that we keep finding our communities within. So we are working with all of our partners, including those in Hamilton County, and our FOP has already directed our support teams to the hospital to be available for families there.
Well, as Paris was telling us, a lot of agencies are involved, even federal agencies right now for assistance. What is the protocol? What are the steps you guys are taking right now?
Well, the biggest component on this is a lot of training that our first responders, especially our law enforcement communities, do all the time. And that's to provide for unity of command and for shared resources across jurisdictional boundaries. So that is being fully implemented, as you're seeing. I think the important thing to remind the community is that now we can start to slow this down because our police professionals have arrived on the scene. They have begun securing that and addressing the matters at hand.
And Rick, at this time, what can we expect at that press conference that we're going to hear from in about 8 minutes?
Well, I think you will hear obviously the initial details. I think it's also important to remember that this is so rapidly evolving that oftentimes much of the initial information we get is not always correct. So we need to slow down, start to verify that. The other thing to remember is that this is now an active crime scene as well. And so our law enforcement professionals will start to transition from handling the active incident to a thorough and complete investigation. That's what they train to do, and that's why we appreciate their hard work.
And it is important for people to remember this is such a rapidly developing situation. They want to know the who, what, where, when, why. Sure. They're not going to find this out in the next 10 minutes or so.
No, and instead what we should be doing now is focusing on the injured, on the victims, as well as all those who witnessed this traumatic incident. And so again, that's why it's important. That's why we felt it important to step forward and send our support teams to the hospital. Unfortunately, our teams have become very good at this from officers being shot. So we want to be able to pay that forward and at least be there to help these families until they can get the rest of their support.
And parents right now are extremely worried, the ones that can't get to their kids. And some of those kids are still being interviewed at this time, police still trying to get information. How long does that whole process take? I can't imagine what those parents are going through right now.
Well, none of us can, right? But what I can assure them is that as this is becoming secured, their children are safe and they are under the watchful protection of our law enforcement professionals, and we will get them reunited as soon as possible.
And it's important for parents to not rush to the schools. This is already chaos, and it's important for them to be patient throughout this, right?
Just like any other emergency, we need to slow down. We need to follow the directions that are being provided, respond to the high school and not the middle school, so that they can begin getting information. And what's critically needed is the law enforcement officers being able to get that parent information to make those connections and reunification.
And right now, a lot of parents are just questioning what happened. What is the best thing for them to be doing right now? Just sit tight?
I think the biggest thing is to sit tight. And honestly, these are also the times that shake us. So these are the important times to fall back on faith as well. And I think the biggest thing folks can do, and what Hoosiers always do, is rally around together, lift their voices up in prayer for these families and also for the first responders.
And it is important for parents to know of that have any students at that middle school, that the parents of the teen or that are involved with the adult are made aware of that situation, so they do know what is going on.
Right. And we do have the only aerial footage right now of this situation, obviously without hindering the investigation. Can you walk us through a little bit about what's going on here right now at the school now that the shooter is in custody? What are these officers doing?
Well, they're securing the entire scene. They're going to secure an outer perimeter and then an inner perimeter specific to where all of this occurred. The other thing that they're going to be doing is transitioning from an active response and rescue approach to a more methodical, investigative turn of events. So our officers know very well what to do. I highly suspect that that the immediate first officers on the scene were not waiting. They were moving right in there to remedy this situation and provide safety and protection for all those who were involved.
Okay, thank you, Rick. And Rick Snyder is with the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police. Now, we do have a Rafael Sanchez live at the scene waiting for this press conference to begin. It's supposed to start in about 4 minutes at 11 a.m. This is going to be at the golf course close to the middle school. Now, Rafael, I'm sure a lot of people are on hand right now. What kind of answers are you expecting at this time?
Well, we're expecting to find out the who, the what, the why. The why is the big question, but just hearing what Rick Snyder had to say, and he represents, of course, the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 86, it just reminds us on a day like today how much we appreciate law enforcement and the work that they do. These days are the days where we lean on them, their expertise, their judgment calls to get to the bottom of what happened today. But this is one of those sad moments in our city, in central Indiana, where we're dealing with something that we've seen unfold around the country. And so our first concern, of course, as we've heard throughout the morning, is with the families that are at Methodist, at Riley, the bigger Noblesville community that is dealing with this morning. We're seeing a number still of police sirens heading in all directions coming out of the middle school west. The middle school west is over yonder, per se. They're keeping us at a distance, but as you can see, these school buses, we saw them earlier today transporting young people to the high school. These buses are empty, so I don't know where they're going, but I can tell just by as they're passing by at this point, they're empty. As we've been telling parents throughout the morning, if your student was at Noblesville West, you are to go to the high school to pick them up. And there are a number of law enforcement agencies here on the scene. My colleague, Call 6 Investigator Pastor Bell, is on the scene with me. We know state police is here. We know the FBI. What kinds of things will they bring to bear? At this point, we know that this operation is being led by Noblesville Police, the men and women of that department. But state police and the FBI will now be lending their weight, their expertise. What kinds of things are they bringing here to this city now to help this school system figure out what happened today?
Rafael, they have a number of resources that just local police departments don't have. We know immediately the superintendent of state police got on the radio up here in Hamilton County and said, I am just sending troopers, I am sending our SWAT team, I'm sending a number of people to help. So they all got here in just a matter of minutes. Then we know the FBI also came out here. The FBI has specific crime scene resources to be able to process the crime scene. That's the next big task that they're going to have to deal with here at the middle school, is trying to figure out what happened, where it happened, and what people may have seen, what may have been captured on video, or what evidence may be at the school. So they have a lot of work in front of them, and that's why they brought in those state and federal resources at this point to assist. But Noblesville Police at this point will be leading that investigation into exactly what happened.
And parents, I should point out, I'm glad you mentioned surveillance video. So Noblesville West is a newer school building here above 186th Street in Hamilton County, and you can bet that police will have plenty of video to work with. They will know when the students came in, when they went out. There are cameras in the hallways. Obviously, there are no cameras in the restroom areas, but outside of those areas. So this school is well equipped to at least document something. And so we'll see what happens throughout the morning. We also know that state police has brought in an explosive detonation team. We don't know if anything was left behind. We don't know of any backpacks. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I am not speculating. But that goes to the whole purpose that when these things occur, the police have to sweep the entire building. Every closet, every classroom, anything where there may be an opening, police will have to now search just to make sure that even though we're towards the end of the school year, this is still a building that's used throughout the year, that the building is safe.
Well, and Rafael, we've seen this in a number of locations recently at these school shootings. Just different explosives have been found by police as they search. So the police want to make sure that they have all their bases covered, and that's why they have all those units coming out here. Again, nothing has been found at this point. We know there have been some other threats at different high schools, different schools that have popped up, but right now police tell us none of those are accurate.
And Paris, right now we're hearing the 11 o'clock tornado siren, test siren. That is just the normal test siren that is done throughout the state. So that has nothing to do with the emergency here in Hamilton County. So if you're hearing that sound behind us, that is just the traditional, what we're used to get ready for severe weather, should severe weather hit. We want to set the stage again as we get close to the top of the hour. Behind us, as you can see, Paris and I are in front of where the Noblesville Police Department at 11 o'clock or close to it will be delivering their statement as to what happened, who's involved. Now, we're not expecting a whole lot of information because this remains an active investigation, but we do know that the police are here, both Noblesville State Police and the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. They are here. I can see them at a distance, and soon, Amanda, we will hear from them all the details, hopefully more details that are emerging. As we heard from Rick Snyder, always in the early hours, Paris, as we know, as reporters, we get bits and pieces, and then the puzzle gets put together. Hopefully here soon we'll get those pieces put together, and we'll bring you that live news conference here on RTV6 as we continue our live coverage here on RTV6 as well as the RTV6 app.
Well, Rafael, it's important to remember, as they process the crime scene, they may find out new things that we may not even have at this point. So it's really, there's a lot of work that has to be done by all the different law enforcement agencies that come out here, and information changes very quickly. So we have to remember that. And if you're trying to reach out to your, parents reaching out to their kids, cell towers here are very busy. They're packed. So you may not get right away. Try texting. That's an important thing. And you want to go to the high school. The middle school now at this point has become a crime scene. There is no students there, or the last bit of students, I believe, are being transported. We've seen these buses go by full of students.
Well, the buses are empty. The buses are empty, but we could be in the middle of other, as you know, buses roll for other needs, elementary school. We don't know what they are, but those buses are empty. But of course, our thoughts this morning are with the parents, the Noblesville school family, the Noblesville community. That's our main priority. And then, of course, as the new information, Amanda, comes in, we're on standby and we'll bring it to you live. We were expecting that news conference to start any moment, but sometimes as they gather information, these things are very fluid. Things don't necessarily start on time, but you can count on us to bring you the very latest information as it develops. And when they come to this podium, we'll bring it to you live.
All right,
Paris
thank you.
LaBelle, Rafael Sanchez, now back to you in Studio A.
Thank you, Rafael. And Paris, now we are standing by with Rick Snyder from the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police. Now you're telling us you are still getting information as to what IMPD is doing on scene there.
Sure, we've been in communications with Chief of Police Brian Roach. He has activated additional resources as well. He has directed that detectives from IMPD respond to the hospitals to assist in any way there. And then our Uniform Patrol Division is also working to complement the existing Indiana State Police troopers here in Marion County to ensure that there's no interruption in service whatsoever.
Now, Rick, as we were saying, we have a lot of agencies on hand right now just trying to get any resources we can involved.
Sure. And again, I just want to stress to everyone, our first responders are prepared for these situations. So they should have great confidence that there will be no issues in working across geographical boundaries. And obviously we have folks coming into Marion County, and we also are placing resources into Hamilton County from here. We have a deputy chief of our operations division, all of our patrol functions, who is actually on scene in Hamilton County to help coordinate anything that we can do as well.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, obviously this is a busy weekend already, Memorial Day weekend, the race is going on, so crews are already spread thin in regards to being placed all over the city for big events. Now this happens. So does this somewhat throw a wrench in plans, or do you guys have plans in place should an event happen like this?
No, ma'am, we are prepared for this. We had already activated our emergency operations center in preparation for events related at the track. So we already have everything staffed and are ready to go. This is just something that we plan for. We fold this into our work efforts. I want the community to know that this is why it's so important to have such a professional law enforcement community like we do in Central Indiana.
Okay, thank you, Rick Snyder with the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police. Now, it is important to note the video you were just looking at is shot from earlier when students were leaving the campus of Noblesville W Middle School. Now, that school is we are told 6th to 8th grade students, with about 1,300 students enrolled in that school.
Okay, and we are just getting into our newsroom. Sound from the initial police call. We want you to take a listen to this. Now, this is our first time hearing this, so we are unsure of what exactly this entails, but we want you to take a listen to this as well.
Stand by. Active shooter, Noblesville Schools. Active shooter, Noblesville Schools. Stand by for further. Noblesville West. Noblesville West. All units. Signal 100. Noblesville Dispatch. Active shooter, Noblesville West Middle School. 19,900 Egg Road.
Okay, that was the first dispatch of first responders you were hearing there once they were notified of that active shooter. We are getting more and more information into our newsroom as we learn it, and we are awaiting that press conference at 11 o'clock.
Now, Rick, when you first get that initial call like that, what step is taken?
Well, I hope people heard right there for themselves the calmness involved in our dispatchers and communicators relaying this information. Some facts. Active incidents like this, active shooter incidents especially, the normal length of time for them to occur from the beginning to the end is usually no more than 2 to 6 minutes. They're very short in time frame. That's why it's so important that our officers are able to rapidly respond and immediately engage any threats. Unfortunately, it usually takes on average about 2 minutes for some of those first 911 calls to start coming in. So we're already behind the curve, but that's why we prepare and train for this. This is also why we have decentralized fleets. That's why we push police cars out into the communities that have all the specialized equipment in it with the officers on and off duty, so that when this alarm goes out, even off-duty officers can deploy their equipment, respond and engage and start to remedy this situation and make it safe.
And Rick, you actually brought in what your officers would be taking into a situation like this, already prepared just in case.
Absolutely. Our Indianapolis community knows all too well that we have worked together in collaboration, citizens in conjunction with our police officers, to create, fund, and provide these trauma kits just for incidents just such as this. These are specially designed kits that our officers can deploy from their police vehicles and take into a scene such as this with them. It has a critical life-saving emergency medical equipment in here for anyone injured in the incident.
Wow. And you were showing me some of the things that were inside, so whatever type of injuries we would be seeing, our camera is able to see what you have in here.
Sure.
If you want to open that up.
Sure. So these are designed to be on the seat of the patrol vehicle so that officers can immediately pull them off and deploy them, carry them into the scene. What is inside of these kits are 4 critical pieces of equipment, one of which is an Oleus bandage. This is designed so that it can be utilized to deploy and pack into gunshot wounds and help stop bleeding during traumatic injuries. The other thing is a life-saving tourniquet. These are used and have been used throughout the military, wars, and everything else. These are designed to go on any kind of arm or leg to be utilized to stop any bleeding again, which is ultimately what we got to do to save lives. We also have emergency shears in here, and this OP airway, which is a plastic piece to keep airways open on victims who may be found unconscious.
Okay, we have a parent on the phone with us now who got a text threat to her phone. Now,
Amanda, I'm going to need you to speak with her. I have lost my IFB, so if you can chat with this parent, it would be much appreciated.
Okay, can you hear me on the phone?
I sure can.
All right, so what was that text threat? What time did you get it at?
Well, I received a text from my son at 10:30, which was really suspicious because that was after everything seemed to be calming down. And he said, "No, Mom, we are still in lockdown. We are in code red. We are still in code red. We are barricading the doors. The lights are off." And he was scared to death. And that was at 10:30, which was very suspicious to me because I thought everything was calming down. And then just about 2 minutes ago, we received a call from the high school and a text message that said there was a text threat at the high school that that they're on lockdown and that they're not letting anybody pick up. Everybody is supposed to be on standby.
Okay, and to clarify, is your son at the high school or the middle school?
He's at the high school.
Okay, and is he a middle school student or a high school student?
No, he's a high school student.
Okay, so have you heard any other details from him since then?
That's all I've heard. He just said that nothing is happening right now. Code red, lights off, and that he said something about SWAT. He said SWAT was in the school.
Wow. As a mother, I mean, this is never the type of call or text you want to get. How are you feeling?
Never. It's never. It's something that's been a big conversation in our house as my son's getting ready to graduate, and to think that it's coming this close to home, I just can't even. I'm shaking. I'm just total disbelief that it's here in Noblesville.
And what information have you been getting from the school?
The school has been amazing at communication. As far as we're getting text messages, this is probably the 5th text message I've gotten in the last hour and a half. Yeah, I've phone calls as well. So text message and phone calls, communication has been wonderful.
And when can you go pick up your son, or when can your son come home? Have you gotten any?
Well, we haven't heard anything. We haven't heard anything yet on the high school students. He will dismiss usually around 1 o'clock today. I have a nephew at the East Middle School, which they are currently on code yellow, I've been told, but we're not allowed to pick him up yet because they still have all the exterior doors locked and aren't letting any visitors come and go.
And Shannon, what are you hearing from other parents in the community? I'm assuming that the text messages have been flying between other moms and dads trying to just gather information.
Yes, it's just disbelief. It's disbelief, really. We're getting ready to head out of the house right now and see if we can make our way towards the East Middle School. But I can only imagine what everybody's feeling is probably what I'm feeling, if not worse.
What kind of emotions is your son sharing with you? Does he feel comfortable at the high school right now, or what's going on there?
He's scared. His text message that came into me at 10:30 said that he was scared and he was shaking. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from an 18-year-old getting ready to graduate. So I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine. When he texted first thing this morning after everything happened, it was that his peers, his other classmates were crying because they had siblings that were over at the West Middle School. So it's been a very emotional day at the high school as well today.
Understandable. Any student, whatever age you're at, whatever age you are in life, the fear instilled with an action like this. Now, we are looking at video from earlier right now where students were evacuating the school. Now, we do know that some students are still on the campus, police interviewing them at this time.
Yeah. And Shannon, you said your son will be able to come home at about 1 o'clock today. What is the conversation going to be like once he is at home?
I think at this point I just want to give him a big hug and just reassure him. And he said he's been praying throughout the last couple hours, and just continue to reiterate that God has this.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are so sorry these are the circumstances we are speaking to you under, and we hope that your son is okay, and we are so sorry this is happening in your community. We can't wrap our minds around it here.
And our hearts are with you and all the parents involved in this and all the families. It's just a situation that no one wants to be in. Now, our Paris Lubell at the scene earlier was telling us that there have been threats made to other schools throughout this morning, and police say none of those are confirmed. Now, we are going to go live to Paris Lubell at this time with new information that you're learning. Paris.
Hey, Amanda, we've been able to confirm right now that a teacher was one of the people shot and a student. They are in Methodist Hospital. We don't have an updated condition on them at this point, but that is the information that we have at this point. I have Chief Investigator Rafael Sanchez here. Rafael, there's a lot of moving parts here as this continues to unfold.
And we have to be very cautious on days like today. I know that a lot of different news organizations want to get ahead of themselves, but I've been on too many of these incidents where we start saying names or we start calling out the victims, and sometimes we're wrong, but sometimes we're right, and we just want to wait. We just heard from Sergeant John Perrine that the news conference will begin in 10 minutes. We know that the superintendent is here on the scene, of course, as well as State Police Superintendent. We're just being told that once this news conference begins in 10 minutes, we just heard over my shoulder that they will not be taking questions. But I wanted to get back to coverage because that's important. You can count on the fact that we're asking every question imaginable. Some questions you may not want to even hear because sometimes they can be very pointed, but we want to get it right. And in a moment like this, as you just reported, there is a teacher and a student, and we're going to stop right there until we can get more information because we just don't know the extent of their injury. It's bad enough that they were injured. It's bad enough that this community has been traumatized. So we're going to keep working to get you information as we're seeing these live pictures from Skycam 6. I also want to point out that I know that State Police Superintendent Doug Carter is here on the scene. He is meeting with the other officials, Paris, to discuss what the message will be to the larger community. As been said already, this national tragedy that we've seen across the country has now come to our backyard, and now we as a community must deal with it. And we know that there's a number of resources here on the scene.
Rafael, State Police was already out here. They were in the community, came here as soon as those calls of the active shooter came across, and then more agencies, IMPD started assisting, and now we know again the FBI is also here leading parts of this investigation. It's really a lot of resources that come out here to assist in an incident like this.
Paris, thank you. you so much. We're going to just walk away for a second. As you can see behind us, they're getting ready for the news conference. Let's now go back to Studio A with more of our live coverage here on RTV6.
Raphael and Paris, thank you. Now what Paris and Raphael just told us, we know that it is one teacher and one student that were injured in this shooting. We first got reports of it about 9:15 this morning at Noblesville W Middle School. There have been threats made to outside schools, but police do say that none of those threats are credible.
Yeah. We want to get to our Kara Kenny, who has a statement from the governor. Now, Kara, what does he have to say about this terrible situation?
That's right. Over the past hour and a half, I've been monitoring Twitter and Facebook looking for statements from our public officials, and the governor has just released a statement saying Speaker Bosma, Pro Tem Long, and I are monitoring the situation at Noblesville W Middle School from the air on our return trip to Indianapolis from Europe. Approximately 100 state police officers have been made available to work with local responders and will offer all assistance needed. Our thoughts are with all those affected by this horrible situation. Unfortunately, for all the wrong reasons, Noblesville is one of the top trending phrases right now on Twitter. Lots of people tweeting about this situation, including our public officials, congressmen offering their thoughts and prayers, and a lot of people responding to those statements saying, please do something. Back to you.
Kara, and after the Santa Fe shooting that just happened not too long ago, we heard from the governor, Greg Abbott, immediately after that, trying to be very transparent with those details. Now, those details for what happened here this morning, we are still waiting on, but we do know it's one teacher and one student.
Yes, and we do know the shooter is in custody. A lot of people are going to be curious about who this person is. We know they're in custody, so what happens next?
Well, obviously, our law enforcement officers will begin their investigative processes. As we have heard, Superintendent of the State Police Doug Carter is actually on the scene there. Folks can rest assured that Superintendent Carter is very familiar with the Hamilton County area, and he will pull out all stops necessary to provide the critically needed resources to not only take care of this situation today, but also the ongoing investigation that will transpire.
And Rick Snyder with the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police is with us. Now, you are keeping in contact with a lot of people that are going to be involved in this. You said Congresswoman Susan Brooks is actually boarding a plane right now to be available for this.
Yes, ma'am. We've reached out to Congresswoman Susan Brooks, U.S. Senator Donnelly's office as well, and have been in communications with Superintendent Carter and Chief of Police here in Indianapolis, Brian Roach.
Okay, and at this time, we are waiting to learn more details with a press conference. We were told it should start in a little less than 10 minutes. Sergeant John Bryan just told our Raphael and Paris that, who are live at the scene. We're hoping to get more details: who, what, where, when, why.
And we do want to remind you that this video you're seeing is from earlier this morning. All those students have been moved from Noblesville W Middle School to the high school. That is where parents are being asked to meet their students. And we have mentioned also this morning there will be police on scene at Noblesville High School. Why is that?
Well, one of the other things that our officers will be doing on this scene is not only securing the immediate scene, but they'll also be deliberately and very painstakingly working throughout this entire area to ensure that there are not any other secondary devices, any threats of secondary attacks, or such as the case may be. Unfortunately, we've learned that through a lot of experience. So they'll be taking care of that while also securing this scene where the families and children will be.
Okay, Rick Snyder with the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police. Now, we do have our Rafael Sanchez and Paris Lubell live at the scene of where the press conference will be taking place. We have Sergeant John Bryan. The police are walking up to the podium right now. We're going to toss it over to them.
So we are here live at as this news conference will begin any moment now. Again, we're expecting to hear from the superintendent. They'll be making some statements, but they will not be taking any questions. For those of you joining us now at the top here, as we continue our coverage here on RTV6, this active shooter situation at Noblesville W Middle School that occurred, and we are now about to get more information as police now come to the podium. As we can see now, Superintendent of State Police Doug Carter is on the scene. They're approaching the podium. Let's take a live as our continuing coverage of this breaking news situation here in Hamilton County now continues on RTV6. They're gathering the officers, and then we will hear the statements. Amanda, as you pointed out, we want to know the who, the why, and of course, the what. Our live coverage now begins.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Bruce Barnes. I'm a lieutenant with the Noblesville Police Department, Public Information Officer. We're going to provide you with some details in regards to the incident that we had today at Noblesville W Middle School. We're going to have the Chief of Police, Kevin Jallett, speak, and Superintendent of Noblesville School Corporation, Dr. Beth Niedermeyer, speak to you. We appreciate that you're going to have questions, and likely many of those questions will go unanswered based upon the limited amount of content that we're going to provide to you today. But what's important to us right now, because this situation is still ongoing, is that we got to make sure these kids are safe. And we got to make sure that we do our job as law enforcement, as public servants within this community and surrounding communities to be able to maximize our efforts. Sometimes we have to keep that information close to us in order to ensure that our kids stay safe. And that's what we're going to do. So we will provide you with as much as we can. We will plan on meeting back here at 2 o'clock to provide you with any other additional information that we might be able to release at that time. But for now, we've got a dynamic, ongoing situation. So we'll provide you with the information that's available to us, that's available for release, and then that'll be it. So first up, Chief of Police Kevin Jallett with the Noblesville Police Department.
Good morning. My name's Kevin Jowd. I'm Chief of Police in Noblesville. At 9:06 a.m., Hamilton County Communications Center received a call of an active shooter at Noblesville W Middle School. Officers from the Noblesville Police Department, Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, Indiana State Police, and other local agencies responded immediately. The situation is contained. We have 2 victims, one an adult teacher and one a juvenile student, who have been transported to Methodist and Riley hospitals in Indianapolis, respectively. Their families have been notified and are en route to be with their loved ones. There is a male student at Noblesville W Middle School who has been detained. We believe he is the involved suspect. We have no reason to believe that there is any kind of a threat connected to this incident anywhere else. We are also, however, aware of a secondary threat that's been made at Noblesville High School. We have multiple officers and a command post established at Noblesville High School and are diligently ensuring the safety of students and staff there. We have not received any information that this has been anything other than a communicated threat. And again, we are securing Noblesville High School and taking steps to make sure that it stays secure. We do have law enforcement officers from many different agencies on the scene. The Indiana State Police, Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, Fishers Police, Westfield Police. We have agents from the FBI and ATF here assisting us. And we have just begun an investigation. Obviously, the investigation is going to be time consuming. We're going to take it very carefully and methodically. I believe at this point the school has been completely cleared and the investigative process has just begun. I'm now going to let Dr. Beth Niedermeyer, the superintendent of the Noblesville school system, speak to you.
Which school has been cleared?
I'm sorry?
The high school or the middle school has been cleared?
Middle school.
Thank you, Chief Jowett. My name is Beth Niedermeyer, and I'm the superintendent of Noblesville Schools. I want to thank everyone for being here and for all the thoughts and prayers. Our hearts go out to everyone that's been involved in this horrific tragedy. We want to thank the teachers and the administrators, Principal Stacy Swan, for their quick actions, responding, following all of the procedures to care for the safety of our students. The collaboration between all law enforcement agencies has been tremendous, and we're so grateful that everyone was so quick to respond and help us through this tragedy. As we learn more, we'll continue to communicate as we have been with our families. Right now, parents may pick up their students at any of the schools if they choose to. We'll follow our regular procedures for that, but we will also have our regular dismissal today for those parents who are working and they want to keep their children in school, their children are safe, and we'll continue the day as planned. Thank you all for keeping us in your thoughts and prayers.
So again, we will plan to meet back here 2 o'clock. We will provide you with any additional updates. We appreciate your patience with us. We know that you have our community in your best thoughts as we move forward. So we appreciate your patience now. We ask for your prayers for the victims in this case, and I think that would include a lot of kids, not only the ones that were truly the victims in this case, but all these other kids that are trying to make sense of this situation. So we appreciate all your help. We will plan to be back here at 2 o'clock. Thank you for your time.
The news conference is just wrapping up here in Noblesville. We've heard from the Noblesville Schools superintendent as well as Noblesville Police. As we continue our live coverage here, I want to just bring you back up to speed with the facts before we get to the emotions of the day. And that is that, of course, Hamilton County Police, the Sheriff's Department, responded to Noblesville West Middle School at 9:06 in the morning. We have a teacher and a student currently in the hospital, one at Methodist, the other at Riley. Their injuries not known. Police confirming for us this morning that a student has been detained, not giving us much more information about that. We're expecting more details at 2 o'clock. We also are hearing that the school itself has been cleared, but that the investigation continues as we speak. The police department calling this investigation a dynamic one. Their first priority, of course, keeping kids safe and doing their jobs. Now let's get to the emotion of the day, which is this community has been traumatized by what we saw today. And of course, the first goal of all the school employees at this point is to just handle that, to work with the families who are now picking up their children at Noblesville High School. That's where all the middle school students were transported to, and just making them sure that they feel safe. As we heard from the superintendent, schools will be dismissed at regular order. So those of you who have students at the other schools here in Noblesville, just know that your child at this point is safe. We did hear the police chief talking about the possibility of other threats being made. Those threats are being investigated. And I should point out, for those young people who are watching us on the RTV6 app or on Facebook, don't do it. Don't waste your time, because when police find you, more than likely you will end up in jail. They take these things very seriously, and on a day like today, they'll be looking to make an example out of you. So it's just best not to get involved in any copycats today, because police are very intent today. They're very focused today, as they are every day. But on a day like today, this is no day to be fooling around. That is the message to those that wish to be involved in copycats. But right now, the main focus here is on the kids, on the children. We expect to hear more information from all those involved at 2 o'clock. And of course, my colleague Paris LaBelle, he went after law enforcement to ask questions of those that left here the news conference scene. So that is the latest from Noblesville. Amanda, now back to you in Studio A.
Rafael, thank you for that. Now, we are told, and we just learned, that it was a male student.
A male student is the suspect. Yeah.
And he is being questioned at this time. This investigation has begun, but we have learned that the school is completely cleared. Now, we do know there is one teen that was injured and one adult that was injured. That adult went to Methodist, and the teen is being treated at Riley. We do not have any word on their condition at this time. Now, we do know that their families have been notified, though, so parents who are worried, if you haven't heard from your children, those families of the injured have been notified. Now, we do have Doug Bowles, who just tweeted, obviously a very busy day or weekend in Indianapolis at this time. Doug Bowles tweeting this: thinking about the students, staff, and families at Noblesville West Middle School today. Appreciative of our brave first responders, teachers, and administrators.
And we are also hearing from Vice President Mike Pence, who is from Indiana. Karen and I are praying for the victims of the terrible shooting in Indiana. To everyone in the Noblesville community, you are in our hearts and in our prayers. Thanks for the swift response by Hoosier law enforcement and first responders. It will be very interesting to see what happens in Washington now that a shooting has happened on the home turf of our vice president. Obviously, we've seen the students from Parkland, Florida, now Santa Fe, speaking to lawmakers about changing gun laws somehow to prevent this from happening. Here we are again, another student, another male student walking into a school and injuring a teacher and a student.
And we do have our Kara Kenny standing by live in our newsroom with new information. Kara, what can you tell us?
That's right, Amanda. I've been monitoring Twitter and Facebook for the past couple hours. As you can imagine, people are directing their anger wherever they can, including their congressman. Congresswoman Susan Brooks tweeted, "My team and I are aware of the horrific shooting at Noblesville West Middle School. My prayers are with the Noblesville community, especially those who are injured and those who witnessed an active shooter situation, something no one should ever have to go through, especially children." Now, people are responding to that tweet, including parents from Noblesville saying, "My kids go to Noblesville. How about you do something about this? Thoughts and prayers aren't enough." and you see hundreds and hundreds of tweets directed at other federal lawmakers as well, asking for gun control and for those lawmakers to do something. So as you can imagine, a lot of parents, not just in Noblesville, but across the country, are now taking to social media to vent their frustration about this violence, about these shootings happening in schools, happening to our children, and asking them to take action.
Kara, thank you very much. And our Lauren Casey is out at the track right now. Obviously, we are in the midst of race weekend. She just tweeted me to let me know that a number of parents have come up to her. They are parents of former Noblesville students. They have come up to her at the track. They're concerned, and they're also very angry that this has happened in their own community. One man told me it's personal now. Oftentimes, we have Rick Snyder here with us from the FOP. Oftentimes, you see people getting very fired up after a situation like this. What do you want to tell people in response? You know, control your emotions. You know, obviously people are upset about this.
Well, the hope is that out of tragedy we're spurred to action. But I also want to say this, and we're going to we continue to have a lot of these same debates and discussions. But at some point we have to realize that what is more important than what is in one's hands is what is in their head and their heart. And that's the issue that we're wrestling with in our country, is the motivations and what's leading to these attacks. A person can use anything to attack or harm someone else, even their hands.
Right.
What's troubling is what is it that causes someone to even think this way, to attempt to do something such as this.
And a lot of work is being done to try to figure out these issues. They're huge issues that need to be figured out, but these parents today are saying still not enough. We still need more, especially when it happens in your backyard. Right. That's when you really feel it happening. Now we are hearing from a lot of agencies that are going to be involved in this. We know the FBI and ATF are involved in this, so now this has become a federal involvement as well with assistance there. And we were seeing, you said IMPD is involved, and we heard from the superintendent and the chief of police of Noblesville that a lot of people are there. And you were telling me when we first saw that image from the press conference that we saw a lot of people there that were in plain clothing that were actually officers off duty.
That's exactly right. If you watched that, you saw folks standing there, law enforcement professionals who were in plain clothes but had body armor with police markings on top of that, wearing that over their plain clothes. Those are officers who are responding in an off-duty capacity or from the office or whatever the case may be. But again, it's important that they have those vehicles and the specialized equipment in those vehicles with them to respond, such as things like the trauma kit, the additional body armor. As you may remember, in Indianapolis, we worked just this past year to equip every officer with rifle plates and ballistic helmets just for incidents such as this.
We've also had a lot of training in how to apply a tourniquet over the past year as well. I don't know how many stories I've covered with that, just in case of these situations. Now, these are images that no parent wants to be involved in that we're going to show you right now.
Yeah, this is outside of Noblesville High School. This is where parents are gathering to pick up their students. You can see them leaving there. I mean, their parents crying. We are just seeing these images for the first time, so this is just as difficult to watch for us here in the studio as it is for people back at home.
And this is the high school, is where the middle school students where the shooting took place are being transferred to, and so if you are a parent, that is where you have been told to go pick up your child. Now, the superintendent of Noblesville did tell us in the press conference that dismissal will still be regular for all the other schools that are worried about it or if they want to pick up their kids at this time. But again, for parents of middle school students, they need to go to the high school. Now, we did just hear from that press conference. We did just hear from the chief of police in Noblesville. This is something he said.
We got to make sure these kids are safe, and we got to make sure that we do our job as law enforcement, as public servants within this community and surrounding communities to be able to maximize our efforts. Sometimes we have to keep that information close to us in order to ensure that our kids stay safe, and that's what we're going to do. So we will provide you with as much as.
And the priority, of course, today is keeping those kids safe, as it is every single day, every single time those kids go to school. Yeah. We do know that it was one student that was injured and one teacher that was injured. We have no word on their condition at this time.
And one student has been detained. Now, he mentioned it's now a priority to keep our kids safe. I think it's very much changed since you and I have been in school, probably since you've been in school. Police, we had one resource officer, and that was about it. Now these kids are likely going to see a much larger police presence in their schools, not only for the duration of the school year, but probably going into next school year, would you guess?
Sure, and I would remind everybody, again, in the middle of this tragedy, we are also blessed in Indiana. We have the premier model school in Southwestern school system of how to further protect and harden the defensiveness of our schools to help prevent things like this from occurring. So let's draw upon what we have right here at home, figure out how do we replicate that and model that, and hopefully allow other communities throughout our country to learn from our experiences.
Okay, we have put our resources across the board in this situation. Our Stephanie Wade is at the scene and she sent in this video to us.
Stephanie Wade here. We are right now outside Noblesville East Middle School. Of course, this shooting happening at Noblesville West Middle School, but parents are here wanting to pick their child up after news of one teen and one adult injured. The shooter has been detained and is in custody right now, but you just see this long line of parents just wanting to come pick their student up, obviously. Now I just saw you guys being released. You have 4 children as part of the school system. I mean, tell me what that is like, hearing their school is on lockdown because of an active shooter in their school.
That is something that no parent should be able to wake up to. You know, I work night shift, and I woke up early. You know, my parents, it was like, did you hear anything about Tazaria's school or your daughter's school is shooting, things like that? My heart goes out real quick, hearing things of that nature happening, something so close to home. Because I kind of asked her, you know, like, school shooting? What you mean a school shooting? I said, a shooting. And then it dawned on me real quick that, you know, something could be happening. Because at that point, it wasn't specified which school it was. So I just jumped up as any parent and jumped in the car and headed on to the school and to come get my daughter.
You just picked up one daughter, Tazaria, and you're in 6th grade. What was it like inside there?
It was scary. A lot of people was crying because they were scared, and it was just... And then when we heard that a shooting happened in West, everybody just got really scared. And then we looked up the news and watched what happened and stuff. And then more people start crying.
And what were teachers telling you?
They would like stay calm, and then I went up to the teacher to make sure if this was true, and she said yeah, and then she said just stay calm and stuff.
They didn't have you go under desks or anything. What were you doing?
We just had to sit there. Some people was on their iPads or reading a book and stuff, and then we just had to sit there until our parents would come and pick us up or call or something.
And what was going through your head when this was happening?
I was scared, and then we were so surprised that it happened in Noblesville and stuff, and then we was scared, like, because we heard the police signs and everything, and everybody just got so scared.
And how many hours, were you guys on lockdown? This has been going on all morning.
Yes. It's about a couple hours now.
Yeah, how were you notified?
Actually, their mother called me because they have that automatic phone thing. And
the text,
Yeah. That's when I was notified, and then they kept calling the phone again after that. But initially, she called me, was like, did you hear something about the school? And then I was like, kind of like half asleep. And then my mother came right after that, was like, did you hear the school? And that's when it hit me. That was something going on at the school. So, yeah, that's something, like I said, it's a surreal feeling. You don't think that is happening in your hometown, especially, Noblesville High School. We're just now moving back from Virginia 3 months ago, actually, and they was excited to start here. And I don't believe it's necessarily, it doesn't matter what school you go to, make it happen anywhere.
And that's the thing, too. You never think it happened here,
Exactly.
in Texas, in Florida.
Exactly.
And it's crazy what were students saying?
As soon as I heard that it was a shooting, I started crying because I was scared. And then I went up to the teacher, and it was just like a lot of thoughts happened to my head, like what if our school the next? And then all the girls, it was a whole bunch of girls, we had a table, and then we were just talking like there's like a lot of school shootings happening on, and then we was like, what if they just planning to just shoot up schools for no apparent reason?
So you were already talking about this anyways, just because of what's been recently happening.
Yeah.
And now for it to actually happen, is that just not insane?
Oh, of course. And like I said, I believe too, it's not just the child. I believe that parents really get in tune with your children. And please, just, even if this is checking up on them and daily activities, knowing what's going on with them, because there should be some type of warning signs. It doesn't just happen out of the middle of nowhere, and they just go and do random acts of violence to this extent. We have to be proactive with our children and really have some type of rapport with them, understanding where they're at. And if they do need help them before they even going to be able to pull something like this off to hurt other people and things of that nature.
Yeah, and now you picked up one child. You have 3 more to go pick up.
Exactly, and that's going to be a task in itself.
Oh, yeah. Here's my question, too. You have 4 more days in school, correct, before it lets out?
Well, no, this is her last time. I'm saying this on record.
Well, that was my question.
Yes.
How do you feel comfortable sending your child back to school?
It's not happening. No.
It's not.
This is the end of the year for them. So next year, they will be returning probably for school, because I don't believe one act of violence can sit there and take away all of the great things Noblesville does do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time...
your child will not be going back?
No.
None of them?
Go to Tuesdays to get my boot back.
You ain't going back to school, so you'll get your things, but school, no.
Yeah. Well, I understand. You need to go get your children.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So glad you're safe and your children are safe. And I can't imagine what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck. Thank you guys so much. And again, if you are just joining us now on Facebook Live, I'm here outside Noblesville East Middle School, still a long line of parents just here wanting to pick their child up. They were having, at the high school was pickup for a lot of these students, but some parents here are saying, I'm going to get mine right now. And so they've just been waiting. I was talking to some other parents, some grandparents, of how they found out through a text message. They're texting their students inside. They've been on lockdown all morning long. But again, the shooting happening at Noblesville West Middle School, not here at East Middle School. So if I could just maybe step a little bit closer, you can see some officers at the front door there. They've been letting a few parents in at a time to get their student. And, you just see parents crying and not knowing what's going on. And the line just keeps going longer and longer, wrapping around. Yeah, so that parent there saying his 4 daughters that he has had to pick up middle school, high school, and just not knowing if they're safe or not. So some real stuff coming here from East Middle School. We're seeing some parents crying as she's walking by right now. One by one, they've been letting parents get their children.
And that was our Stephanie Wade, who is at Noblesville East Middle School waiting with parents that are just trying to pick up their kids in this situation. Now, we just heard from that parent that she was speaking to that they wanted action to be taken before anything happens. They're urging for teachers and for police and for anyone to help these kids before it gets to this point. Now, those details of why this happened, we still do not know. But another parent we have on the phone, her name is Shannon Ford. We were talking to her earlier. She's the mother of an 18-year-old at the high school, where she received text from him starting around 10:30 saying that they were getting a code red of what was going on. Shannon, can you hear me?
I sure can, yes.
Hey, so since we talked about 30 minutes ago, what else have you learned since then? Have you been able to keep in contact with your son?
I have, yes. I just received a call from him about maybe 6 or 7 minutes ago, and you can just tell the tone of his voice. He's calm, he's quiet. He said that at some point between 10:30 and 11:15, there was a little bit of miscommunication. Some of the kids were allowed to not be barricaded and go to the restroom, but then all of a sudden they kind of nipped that in the bud and got everybody back into their rooms. The call he just gave me, they're now on yellow and things are loosening up just a little bit. But that's where we are right now. I can tell in his voice he's not shaking and scared as much as he was.
And what time do you expect to see your son?
Well, I'm hoping it could be a little delayed now. He usually gets out around 1 o'clock on today. But it's kind of a mess out here. We're at the parking lot at the East Middle School trying to pick up my nephew, and it looks like we'll be here a while. So I don't know what the high school looks like right now. I can only imagine.
Have you been talking to other parents today?
I have talked to a few. It's really somber, very somber mood here, very quiet.
And where are you at right now?
I'm standing in line at the East Middle School.
What's the scene like around you? How are those parents feeling? What are they saying?
Everybody's trying. It looks like lots of phone calls. Everybody's on their phone. Trying to stay as connected as possible. You know, phone calls have been off the hook. Text messages, social media. Everybody's just trying to let everybody know that they're okay.
And Shannon, are there students walking out, being reunited with their parents?
Oh yes, 100%. Very emotional. I mean, very emotional scene. A couple that we've witnessed firsthand.
And what kind of conversations have you had with your son leading up to this? I mean, we've been seeing shootings happen at schools across the country. Was it really something that you ever thought would be happening here?
Of course, you never think it would be happening. It's a conversation we've been having, you know, unfortunately for longer than probably we should be having it. Noblesville's done a great job of trying to have dialogue about inclusion and diversity and bringing the community together. And I don't know, maybe we need to go beyond dialogue.
And for our viewers listening in, this is the voice of Shannon Ford, a mother of a student at the high school, an 18-year-old, who she was telling us earlier that he reached out to his mom and you could hear the fear in his voice. He was frightened. He didn't know what was going on, but he wanted to let his mom know what was going on. Now, she's been keeping in contact with him through the past couple of hours. This all started around 9:15 this morning. And Shannon, when did you first hear from your son?
Actually, I did not work today, and I received a phone call from him. Mom, did you get my text message? And I said, no, I did not get your text message. He said, there's been a shooting. And right there, my heart just dropped. I jumped up. I turned on the TVs and tried to figure out what was going on. And then he said it was at the West Middle School that they were on, and then the high school was on lockdown, and he's okay.
Well, thank goodness your son is okay. We were hearing from our Stephanie Wade, who was at the scene as well. She tweeted recently saying she was talking to a grandparent to pick up his grandson, and she said that insanity has hit Indiana. Shannon, how are you feeling right now that this happened at your son's community, your community?
Yeah, it's disbelief. I work in the early childhood field, and mental health is a hot topic right now, and we can't assume what happened or why this happened today, but I think it's something we really need to be investing in. You know, I can get on my soapbox and talk about that all day, but I just can't even.
Well, right now we're just thankful that your son is okay. We do not know the condition of the student that was injured or the teacher that was injured. They are at Methodist and Riley at this time being treated, and their families have been notified. And Shannon, thank you so much for speaking with us and staying on the line to give us those updates. I can't imagine what you are going through and all those other parents. We hope the best for all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Now, we're giving you a live look at Noblesville High School right now, where parents are waiting for their students. This is where parents have been notified to go that have those middle school students at Noblesville West Middle School. All the students were transferred here as the investigation is ongoing at the middle school. Now, we did hear from the chief of police. He said that the school has been cleared at this time, but the investigation is taking place, where the FBI and ATF are also involved in this with federal assistance and a lot of agencies from our community and across central Indiana. But here at the high school is where, or at the at the high school is where the parents are being able to pick up their children. We do have our Kara Kenny live at our live desk in studio. She's been checking online, hearing what our officials have been saying.
Monitoring social media very, very closely. And Kara, you have some new posts for us.
Absolutely. We've been monitoring social media, Twitter, Facebook over the past few hours. And as you can imagine, elected officials are expressing their sympathies, their thoughts, their prayers with everyone involved. Let's take a look at some of those tweets. Congressman Andre Carson says, closely monitoring the situation at Noblesville West Middle School, praying for Noblesville and our whole community. Trey Hollingsworth, thankful for our first responders and law enforcement during this tragedy. Kelly and I are praying for the Noblesville community, the teachers, the students, and their parents. Our country must find a way through thoughtful debate to create a safer world for our children. And Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett says, as the father of 3 kids, including a daughter in middle school, I know too well the terror every parent faces when they hear the news of yet another school shooting. We must continue to push for action that puts a stop to days like this. Indianapolis stands with Noblesville. And lastly, Vice President Mike Pence says Karen and I are praying for the victims of the terrible shooting in Indiana. To everyone in the Noblesville community, you are on our hearts and in our prayers. Thanks for the swift response by Hoosier law enforcement and first responders. And the overwhelming response that you will see to all of these tweets is please do something. People are frustrated and they're taking their anger to their elected officials, asking them to do something about these school shootings, whether it be gun control or something to that effect. So clearly a lot of people are upset. And in this new age of social media and Twitter, everybody's got it on their phones. They're taking to their phones to express their frustration with their elected officials right now.
Kara Kenny, thank you so much for that information from our newsroom. Now, that press conference happened about 20 minutes ago where we heard from the chief of police and the superintendent of Noblesville. We're going to toss over to some sound from that press conference.
Obviously, the investigation is going to be time consuming. We're going to take it very carefully and methodically. I believe at this point the school has been completely cleared and the investigative process has just begun.
All right, we are going to take a live look now at Noblesville Middle School, Noblesville High School, excuse me. This is Noblesville High School, where parents are there retrieving their students. Rick Snyder, we want you to give us some insight into what this process entails. Obviously, parents are going to probably be questioning the police that are on scene there, kind of keeping things in line. What is this scene like for those people?
Sure. Once again, our law enforcement professionals are prepared for this. This is part of the ongoing work that they will be doing, which will be triaging this situation and connecting families back together, reunifying them. However, some of the things that they'll be doing is having to take those steps to actually ensure the identity of the parents and match that up with the identity of the students to ensure that the proper reunifications are occurring. The other thing that they'll be doing on scene here is, while the work is being done inside the scene with the families and the children, ensuring the security on an outer perimeter of that as well. But again, this is what we're prepared for. This is what we train for, and you'll see our law enforcement officers from multiple agencies working together to achieve this task.
Now, I'm curious, because children were majority of the witnesses to this crime were likely children. How important is it for parents tonight, over the next few days, if their child comes to them and says, well, I saw this, I didn't want to say anything. Well, I heard this, I didn't want to say anything. How important is it for those parents to then go to police? Yeah,
that's going to be the most important thing. Unfortunately, a lot of times after events such as this, we start learning of a lot of things that were known, thought beforehand. And although this incident has occurred, those things are just as vitally important because they could be the critical piece to help really explain what happened here. So what we always encourage is, if that occurs where a student comes to their parent, is immediately have that student write down what they saw, what they heard, all those things, while at the same time the parent can contact the police agency and get that information relayed to them.
And they won't get in trouble.
Absolutely
those children
not.
Will
no,
not
absolutely
get in trouble.
not.
Right.
And we're talking 6th to 8th grade students, so we've been seeing this a lot in high schools, but these are young kids.
These are young kids.
We heard from a 6th grader earlier, Stephanie Wade was talking to, and she was just saying she was scared. She never thought this would happen here.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of parents are going through right now. When you were listening to that sound from that parent talking earlier, saying they want this looked at, they're urging for their officials to do something. They said they want action taken before some sort of tragedy like this happens. And you were saying, yes.
Yeah, the gentleman that was speaking earlier, he was spot on. And if you heard what he was saying the same thing. Let's get above these normal discussions and debates. We got to have this bigger discussion about what is it that's going on in the heads and the hearts of our children that make them want to do these things. And on top of that, what is the role of the parent? It's important for us to demand action by our elected officials. But it's just as important that we as moms and dads and citizens take an active role in preventing this from occurring as well.
And how important are those conversations to be having with your children? It's beyond how was school today. It's how are you feeling? How, are things okay? How are things with your friends?
You got it.
Yeah.
It's about education and prevention. Being engaged and having those dialogues can often lead to preventative measures to keep something like this from happening.
We've had our Skycam 6 overlooking everything going on at this scene. Our Shay Pastor is up there now. He is giving us a look at the middle school at this time. Shay, what can you tell us that you're seeing?
Well, actually, Amanda, we are the only aerial shot in the air today. This is the high school, Noblesville High School, where all the parents are going. You can see all the cars here parked out on the fields. All the parents coming to meet up, reunite with their loved ones. I think the thing that's really sunk in for me is I didn't grow up around here, but I know people affected by it. I think everybody in central Indiana's probably got some connection, knows somebody that this is affected today, and it's unfortunate. But right now what we've got going on here, lots of traffic through here. This is near the jail, the Sheriff's Department here in Hamilton County, just northeast of downtown Noblesville. But you can see here, I'll zoom in real quick, lots of cars stacking up, trying to get back with their children, Amanda.
And Shay, from the scene earlier, you have been up in the air all morning long into this early afternoon hour. What are you seeing that has changed since this morning? Are you seeing less police activity, more police activity? What's going on?
Since this morning, there's obviously a little less police activity in places, but they're here in force. They're everywhere. They're going to make people feel safe today. You can tell that. Like every intersection around the school has got a police officer somewhere near it.
And Shay, I'm sure these are situations that we are not used to seeing right here in our own community. This is not something we've had to deal with yet, but
it's not. It's hard to believe that here we are. And Rick, you have been here with us all morning long. Can we get his microphone up, please? What is happening now at this scene? We saw police outside. Are they inside now, looking at what has happened, kind of maybe seeing what series of events went on?
Sure. What's going to be going on now is the beginning of what will be a very long but detailed investigative process. So the scene has been secured. They will severely limit any access to that and allow the lead investigators to start processing this scene, as well as evidence technicians to do so as well. Another key component will be the review of any closed circuit surveillance video that may be available on site and starting to piece that together. There will also be detectives off-site who will start working and following up on leads on who was involved with this. Sometimes it is just one person, other times there's other people that played a role in that. So they will keep a very open mind and methodically step through this. What is good to know is that this local police agency, which is a very fine police agency, Noblesville Police Department, also has the assistance and the resources available to them of the Indiana State Police, the FBI, and many other police agencies in central Indiana.
And Meredith had asked you this earlier, but for our viewers just tuning in now, I think a big issue right now is a lot of people are questioning, hey, we know this is a big weekend in central Indiana. We know that our officers have been planning this for a long time, of the security at the track and around the area, and now we have this.
Our folks should take stock in this, is that not only do we plan for this, but here in central Indiana we have some of the best folks involved with this. People come from all over the country, all over the world. Think about this. We host one of the largest events in the world. Hundreds of thousands of people will be at the Speedway and the track, but we work with that and still provide all our other police services and are prepared to rapidly respond to any other large events or incidents.
Now, we do know that one male student has been detained as a suspect, so we do know that. Now, what is being done with that student at this time?
Well, again, they'll have to step through that with the investigators. They'll have to step through what options they have for evaluating any kind of statements or whatnot that may be made or may have been made prior to this. And the other critical component is going to be those witness statements again. Unfortunately, you also have the trauma that is involved, the traumatic event that others have witnessed. And so, that's actually a shock to not only the conscience but to the brain as well. So sometimes it takes a longer time for folks to process what they've actually witnessed.
And it's continue on.
I was just going to say they may be getting additional statements and bits and pieces of information in the days to come as folks start to recollect that and process what has occurred.
Right. Well, and like we were just saying moments ago, these witnesses, they are children. They are, 12, 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it is so very important for any information maybe relayed to mom and dad or overheard by another parent, that information get to police.
In our law enforcement officers, we have specially trained officers, detectives who are trained in forensic child interviewing skills to be able to interact with younger aged victims and witnesses. And we will also have expertise of certified forensic child interviewers who work in various other child-related crimes that can also be drawn upon to help out.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Rick is with the Indy FOP. Now, we do have a Rafael Sanchez live across the street from the school at Fox Prairie Golf Course where the press conference was taking place about 30-40 minutes ago. We know another one will be taking place at 2 p.m. Right now, everyone just wants to know why, who was involved.
Yeah.
Rafael, have you learned anything else from when we last spoke with you?
Listen, we are working on that so hard. We have some initial information, but we have to really confirm it. So just give us a few more minutes. We don't want to get it wrong. But of course, we are expecting, as you mentioned, that news conference to happen here behind me at 2 o'clock. The horror of a school shooting, the trauma of it all has now hit Indiana. We've seen these scenes across the country, but now it's hitting us right in the gut here in Noblesville. As you can see from these live pictures from Skycam 6, parents are picking up their students from Noblesville Middle School West who were evacuated to the high school early this morning after that active shooting. A shooting which injured a teacher who's at Methodist Hospital and a student who is at